I'm not entirely sure what the mantua makeup is. I can't say it. I keep saying mantua makeup. Hello, I'm Rebecca of Pocketful of Poseys. Today's video is me answering the CosTube 21 questions for 2021. So, without further ado, let's get to it. Here we go. Question 1. What is your favorite genre of costuming? I think by genre, that probably means historical or cosplay or what have you. So I'm definitely going with historical. What are your favorite materials to work with? Ooh, I really enjoy working with linen, and except for it's so hard to cut a straight line, but doing that pull thread out thing works pretty well. Other than linen, I would say definitely silk taffeta. It's amazing, and the rustle is gorgeous, and if it weren't for the expense, I would make all of my costumes out of silk taffeta. Well, not really, but you know what I'm saying. Pins or pattern weights? Pins, generally speaking, I don't have very many pattern weights, but I use them occasionally, but most of the time pins, unless you count Hercules, who is the ultimate pattern weight. Who do you look up to / who taught you your crafts? Well, I have to say my mother, although I resisted sewing completely, so I can't really say that she taught me to sew. I learned to sew just because I felt like it. However, I do look up to her a lot because she was always making us costumes when we asked her to. She made costumes for like murder mystery birthday parties and things like that, where she would make costumes for all of the guests who were coming, because these were like my younger sister's friends mostly, and they didn't have costumes, so she would like make costumes for everyone, and she's amazing. Which of your projects are you the proudest of? Oh, that's a really good question. I think, oh man, that's hard to answer too. I think up to this point, the project that I am the most proud of is my natural form project, because it was out of my comfort zone. I had never done natural form before. I had done some other Victorian era things before, but I had never done the natural form because I was afraid it was not going to look good on me, so why bother? But it actually does look good. So there you go. What project taught you the most? Ooh, another really good question. These are good questions. I would have to say the project that taught me the most was my first go at 18th century, my robe à l'anglaise, because I had never done it before. I didn't understand how it was constructed. I didn't anything. So I really learned a lot on that project, and learning about different seam finishes and things like that. However, I'm still learning. Like, I'm not entirely sure what the mantua makeup is. I can't say it. I keep saying mantua makeup. What the mantua maker seam really is. So I need to do some more research on that, definitely. Drape, draft, or commercial pattern? I'm gonna have to go with commercial pattern. I have not really draped yet. I do have Freya, my dress form now, so I could drape, but I haven't as of yet. But I do think that drafting is definitely something that I'm interested in doing. I have done a little bit as far as like taking a small gridded pattern and drafting it up to my size. I've done that, but starting from scratch, that I'm not so sure about. Maybe someday, but for now I'll stick with the commercial patterns and adjust them as I need. Are you team cut or team trace for pattern pieces? Ooh, I am a mixture team. I'm on both sides, because most of the time I do trace. However, sometimes I don't trace. I just cut them out. Especially, so I tend to trace patterns that I buy, complete patterns. I tend to trace those, but PDF patterns I tend to cut because I've already spent so much time taping them together. I'm just like, oh, not another step. So I usually just cut them because I think to myself, well, if I need it again, I can print it out again, which is wasteful. So don't be like me. What skill would you like to learn? I would really like to learn more about embroidery and learn how to embroider. I have stuck my toe in a little tiny bit in embroidery. I haven't been too successful at it yet, but that is something I would like to explore more. What is the most unconventional material you have used? I don't know that I've used any unconventional materials. I guess maybe for my hoop skirt, I used PEX piping, which you can get at your hardware store. So, Thor wants in. So I guess that's the most unusual thing that I have used. Which era or genre would you still like to make a costume of? Oh, so many. I definitely am going to make a Tudor costume at some point. I also like to do the Italian Renaissance. So yeah, those are definitely on my list. Biggest sewing / crafting pet peeve. When you run out of bobbin thread right at the end. That's a pet peeve. There you go. What is your favorite tool to use? I love a small tool. I love my bodkins for lacing. They are amazing. So much better than trying to like poke the ribbon through without it. So bodkins, yes. How has the pandemic changed what you sew or how you sew or craft? I don't think the pandemic necessarily changed how I sew or what I sew. I know that it was definitely a good distraction. I started this channel in the January before the pandemic. So I was planning on doing weekly projects, weekly uploads anyway, but the pandemic I think helped me in that I wasn't going out and doing things, so I did have more time to work on things that now that the pandemic is getting over with, I find I have less time than I did before. What costume would you like to revisit? Ooh. I would like to make another robe all anglaise now that I know more at some point. I really love my robe all anglaise, and so I would love to have one in another fabric or that kind of thing. So yeah, I'd like to do that one again now that I know a little bit more about constructing these garments. Most useless sewing tool you ever invested in? I didn't really invest in it because it was a present. My husband gave it to me, but I wouldn't say it's useless. I just haven't used it yet. And that is my serger. It's been sitting on a shelf mostly because I'm kind of intimidated by it. And I keep meaning to get it out and use it and learn how to use it, but I just haven't yet. But I wouldn't say it's useless because it does have a great use once I figure out how to use it. So, most satisfying technique. Ooh. Although I hate running gathering stitches, it is very satisfying when you gather up a big length of fabric and the gathers are all just so beautiful and tight. That's very satisfying to me. Scissors or rotary blade? Scissors. I cut myself every time I use the rotary blade. It doesn't matter what I do. Do you have any sewing assistants? Yes, I do. I have 4. Although the cats, Hercules and Lucius, are my most prominent sewing assistants. Hercules is always wanting to be wherever I am sewing. And Lucius likes to just sleep in my notions and sleep in my fabric boxes and all of that kind of stuff. Whereas the dogs, they're not in here quite as much. Loki especially, he doesn't come in here too often, but Thor has separation anxiety, so he has to come check on me every few minutes. And you may even hear him in this video whining outside the door because I closed it. Tea, coffee, or chocolate? Oh, I like all three, honestly, and I would say tea is my favorite. I drink tea the most, but I also enjoy coffee. We usually have coffee or tea in the morning, and then sometimes tea at night. I don't have hot chocolate very often, except for in the winter time. I don't ever make it, so it's usually, if I have it, I buy it somewhere, or my mom makes it sometimes if I go over there. So tea, and then coffee, and then chocolate. What do you like to watch or listen to while sewing? I like to watch movies, mostly things that I've seen before, so I don't really have to pay attention. Musicals. I usually watch musicals or old movies because they're kind of my comfort. And I also watch Remember When, which was a TV show that was on in the 90s on AMC. They like to pretend that Mad Men was their first real series. They are liars. It was Remember When. It's set in a radio station in the late 30s, early 40s, and it's just a lot of fun. I watch that a lot, and you probably will see them in my videos a lot because I just like put it on and let it play, because each episode's less than 30 minutes. So they just like, I'll go through. There are 4 seasons. Let's get through 4 seasons in not that long of a time. So there you go. Those are my comforts when I'm sewing. Remember When, or old movies, or old classic movie musicals. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you spending your time with me. I hope you found this video fun and possibly enlightening as to me and my habits of sewing. I hope you will join me next time for my completed Belle's blue dress. I'm very excited to share that with you. I've been working really hard on it, and yay! If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't. If you'd like to be notified whenever I upload, you can hit that little bell icon. And if you'd like to support the channel further, I have a Ko-fi account, and that is linked down below. Again, thank you so much, and I will see you on our next sewing adventure.